Hello and welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, please don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Today we're going to be talking about what is the best way, the most effective and cost-effective way to market your music in 2025. Now, a couple of assumptions before we start. This is assuming that you are not signed, you don't have budget behind you as such, this isn't being paid for by a record label or some other kind of entity. This is assuming that you are an independent musician with an independent sort of level of budget. I know that's a little bit how long is a piece of string, but kind of what this is if I was like an independent musician without loads of money, what would I be doing? So to also give you a little bit of background, my name is Aidan. I run a music marketing agency. I also run a record label, and I'm going to just straight away confirm my bias so that you all know where I stand. We provide online marketing services such as TikTok marketing, we do press, and we do playlist marketing. So that's where my kind of biases are with this, but I'll try and cast them aside for the purposes of this video. Right, let's crack on. So I just need to get the screen record working here, which might be a little bit more difficult than anticipated. Okay, so assuming that I've done all of this right, you should now be seeing the tier list. So what this is just some of the things that record labels, just some of the things that artists use to try and market their music these days, the type of agencies that they pay, the type of things that they spend their money on. And I'm just going to try and give a completely unbiased, hopefully clear tier list of how well in 2025 I think all of these things actually work. Now, obviously, not everything's different. Everyone has a different approach, and every artist campaign, some things will work slightly better for other people. There's no one size fits all here. But this is kind of, in my experience and in our experience, the things that in 2025 we find to be the most kind of valuable and the best spend of your resources and time, right? So our tiers are game changer. That means the best thing that I think you can do in 2025. Well worth it means, obviously not as good as game changer, but very good. Worth a go is kind of average. Rarely works is don't completely discount it, but it's unlikely to have the effect that you want it to. Time waste is don't bother. So anything that I put in time waste, I'm not saying it's completely entirely useless, but it's very rare that in 2025 it kind of works. So let's crack on. So we're going to start with social media here, which I've assigned with this little TikTok logo that we've got here, right? So this is obviously quite broad, but I'm more talking about kind of short form artist-led content. So this means like filming your performances, filming videos to camera of you. This is kind of the stuff that you put on your page as an artist. So it could be anything from sort of behind the scenes videos. How did I make this song? Footage from my collaboration with this artist. Sometimes it's cringy dance videos, whatever, right? This is content that you do. Content that you do and you post and you're responsible for. So you might employ an agency to help you with this. I'm going to say with this, it's high. It's high in the tier list because A, you can do it yourself. You don't have to spend money on this. Obviously, spending money on better equipment, good editing, and all of that kind of stuff will make it better. But you could do this really, really well, and it costs nothing. So for that reason, just purely because of the value for money versus the potential results you can get from it, in terms of if you have a video that has a real kind of viral moment, it can really drive listeners and drive a fan base. I'm going to go, for the time being, I'm putting social media in well worth it. Artist-led social media in well worth it. Next up, we've got Submit Hub. And I'm going to kind of group all Submit Hub, Groover, Playlist Push, all of those kind of platforms into kind of one thing here, really. So it's these cheap kind of cost per submission type platforms. The good thing about these is precisely that. They are generally quite cheap. And I know for a fact that Submit Hub, I'm not sure about the other platforms, but they check and verify every playlist creator that's on there to make sure there's no bots. And realistically, a playlist campaign on Submit Hub, you can do a pretty good one for about 50 quid, which value for money wise, I think is good, right? You're not going to get much for 50 quid on any of these other services. So I think Submit Hub is well worth it, particularly if you're a new artist. In terms of value for money, there's not many things that are as good value for money as this. So I'm going to put Submit Hub in well worth it. Okay, regional radio. So we're going to get onto national radio in a bit. But for anyone who doesn't know, regional radio is pitching yourself for your music for coverage on like regional radio stations that are dotted around the country and that's listenership is in that specific place. So like BBC Radio Norwich and stuff like that. For our international viewers, you're not going to understand what any of this means. College radio is similar, right? In the States. Does anybody listen to regional radio anymore? Does anybody listen to regional radio anymore? I don't think they do. Might be wrong. If you're going on a tour, maybe it's useful. Or if your music is an slightly older demographic who still listens to BBC Norfolk, then maybe. But I've got to put something in Time Waste. It's quite expensive as well. Like employing a regional radio team, that's not cheap, right? I'm going to go Time Waste. Something has to go in Time Waste, and I think that's probably the most time wasty of all of them. Okay, so from regional radio, now on to national radio. So this involves employing an actual kind of radio plugger. So they will be pitching your music to BBC Radio 1, BBC 6 Music, Capital Radio, national big kind of radio stations, right? Generally speaking, it's expensive. And I'm talking like £1,000 to £2,000 a month. It could be more. It could be like £5,000 a month, depending on who you work with. Obviously, this very much depends on who you are as an artist. If you're already fairly established and you've had a bit of a hit, then maybe this might kind of be worth it. But I think for most artists at the kind of level of still building and still developing, it rarely works. Or it rarely works in the way that you kind of want it to, if you see what I mean. If you've got a bit of money or a label's behind you, different. But in this scenario, it rarely works. So next up, we have press. So hiring a PR team. Again, I'll give you my bias here now. We do PR. That's a service that we offer. But I'm going to try and put my kind of bias aside here. Press isn't as valuable as it was for the up-and-coming artist. Still valuable for big and established artists and festivals and kind of sharing news, or if you're an artist who has a very, very interesting story, because journalists want to write about kind of interesting stories, right? But in terms of kind of paying sometimes quite a bit of money for PR, I mean, we have a service whereby you pay based on what you actually achieve. So it's results based. But in terms of paying a retainer, which is non-conditional on how well the campaign goes, to try and get your music in kind of music magazines as a new artist these days, I'm going to go rarely works. As I say, if you can kind of come to a good deal with your PR that's cost effective, then slightly different. But in the traditional format, I'm going to go rarely works. Next up, podcasts. So trying to achieve a position, an interview on a podcast. But if you can get it, it's good. If you can get it, it's really, really good visibility. But it's hard. It's so hard to get musicians on podcasts because podcast producers want to see artists with a big following in order to promote their podcast. So it's difficult. So therefore, I'm going to go rarely works with this, unless you're an established artist already. Next up, live music. So this is like performing at gigs, events, right? Performing your shows, whatever performances, right? So in terms of actually how it promotes your music, I don't know if it does as much so, but it's good for, meeting your fans. You can start building a mailing list. I know for a fact that DSP editors, Spotify, Apple Music, and so on, they like to see live gigs on your, they like to see it on your profile. It shows that you're a real band or a real artist, and it shows you have a real audience and a real commitment. I'm going to go worth a go for live music. It's not as effective as some things, but it's useful. It's good. This tier list looks awful, by the way, but it's fine. So next up, fan clubs. Next up, fan accounts and UGC accounts. So this one probably needs a little bit of an explanation. This is where yourself or an agency creates accounts on social media which are specifically for the purpose of sharing your content and promoting your content, like satellite channels, right? So it can share your content or it can use your music over content that's suitable for the right kind of vibe. And it all happens anonymously. Doesn't have to be you that's doing the posting. It can be someone else and you can do it kind of in the background, right? Again, this is actually a service that we provide. I think this is well worth it. Well worth it. It's a good way to have other channels sharing your content that isn't just you, and it's not just you posting all the time. It's other channels that are doing it. I'm quite aware of the sun in my face here, so apologies about that. Right. Next up, we have playlist marketing. So this is working with a company that promotes your music to Spotify playlists. Now, again, this very much depends on the level of service that you get. If you work with a good agency who knows what they're doing, then this can be really, really effective. Third-party playlists are still a very, very good way to get your music moving within Spotify's algorithm, because you can't rely on Spotify themselves to add you to their playlists, but Spotify's third-party playlists are a really, really good way to get that moving. And then you can start getting discovered on through Spotify's kind of algorithmic playlist, right? If you can work with a well-priced team to do this, or you can get it done, and you can start building your own playlist database, I think this is worth a go. Okay, so the next one, DJ promo. So this is essentially working with an agency who will promote your music to DJs, essentially. We'll send it out to DJs who will play your music in the clubs. So this is really good if you could get a DJ who will play it on like a boiler room set or on a live stream somewhere, and then you get the support from that. But otherwise, it's way too expensive for what it is, I think. I'm going to go rarely works with this. And then the final one, I've got advertising, specifically online advertising using Meta ads, TikTok ads, and so on. So if you are able to learn how to do this well, learn how to budget well, and really understand, Meta ads and TikTok ads and the ins and outs of how it works, this can be a game changer. Because of all of these things and all of these ways to market your music, this is the only one where you can be very specific about who you're reaching. You can tailor it based on audiences, demographics, whatever you want. But if you're able to successfully understand and leverage ads on Meta and ads on TikTok, then this is a really, really effective way to market your music. It requires a bit of training, but, what doesn't? So, here is our list. Game changer is social media advertising, learning how to run ads on Meta and Meta and TikTok. Well worth it is artist-led social media, the content that you create, tools like Submit Hub and Groover and things like that, which are cheap playlist submissions, and fan accounts and satellite accounts. So other accounts that you run, which can share your content as an artist. Worth a go, playing your music live, doing a little tour, and a Spotify playlist marketing campaign. So working with an agency to promote your music to Spotify playlists. Only if they're a good one, get recommendations. Rarely works. National radio campaigns, i.e. hiring a radio plugger. Again, if you're a big established artist, different situation. Press, again, if you're a big established artist, different situation, but I put that in rarely works for new artists. Podcasts, again, very difficult for new artists. And DJ promo campaigns, I've hardly ever seen them be very effective. And the only one that I've put in a time waste in 2025 is a regional radio campaign. So, this is just my opinion, and this is just where I see it, but these would be the best kind of things for you to go for in 2025 is understanding how ads work, understanding how artist-led social media works, as in creating your own content, using tools like Submit Hub,